Welcome to the Uncivil Mentality Podcast. I'm Erik Vidal.
And I'm Reilly Kilbride.
Let's go. Let's go.
There he is. Chris,
Welcome to the Uncivil Mentality Podcast.
Hell yeah, Miami-Dade in the building.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Chris? I'm Reilly. Nice to meet you, brother.
Nice to meet
Thanks
you,
for
man.
coming on. We appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was telling Erik that today I went back and watched all the content you guys created around your Ironman.
Oh, man.
Bro, wow. Super impressive.
Thanks.
But before we talk about that, give us a little intro on you, who you are, what you do, kind of your mindset around firefighting.
My name is Kristian Menendez. I'm a firefighter right now, Miami-Dade County Fire Rescue. I've been here now for a little over 2 years, almost 3. And I really started in Orange County about going now probably 7 years ago. I started up there in Orlando, and I loved it. And I wish I could say that I was one of those people that I knew I wanted to do this my whole life. I had family. I really didn't. I just had friends that were like, hey, I think you'd fit in as a firefighter in the Brotherhood. I played sports, so they just said it made sense, and I gave it a shot. And yeah, man, I started my career up in Orlando, and I absolutely loved it.
What brought you down to Miami?
Family. I lived down here, and when I was getting hired, it was one of those times where not a lot of people were hiring. So they were like, one of the best pieces of advice I got from my instructors down here in Miami was apply everywhere, get your feet wet, get the experience, and then when the opportunity presents itself, if you want to go back home, you could go back home. So that was the initial plan, and then I fell in love with Orange County. I had such good people there, really good firemen that taught me things that I carry over today in my career. I've really instilled a lot of who I am as a fireman today, especially with grit and just the way we do things. And it was so hard leaving. It was probably the toughest decision I ever made in my life, you know. But I'm so close to those guys. Like, they all supported me when I told them, hey, I got to go back home. My family's here. It just makes the most sense for me. It was like a no-brainer. They supported me. When I went through Miami-Dade Fire Rescue graduation, I was going through COVID, so we weren't allowed to bring only 2 people. It was just like and it had to be like immediate family, like your mother, your wife. And I told them, like, you guys cannot come to my graduation, and they still showed up anyways. I thought I was gonna get in so much trouble. It was literally like 7 people snuck in. They're like, well, as long as we were Class A's, they're very similar to Miami-Dade, they won't notice. And literally, like, my whole crew showed up from Orlando. It was awesome. So yeah, so backstory about me, where I come from. I'll never forget where I came from. You know, I always rep them in everything I do. I never talk bad about them. And even to the new recruits that are coming in now, because I'm at recruit training. Anytime I see somebody from Orange County, I immediately, just vibe with them, and because I know where they come from and their upbringing.
Tell me a little bit about that. Maybe in the last 5 classes from my department, I've been hands-on with the recruit PT, and tell me about what you do and kind of, does that fill a box for you?
Erik knows I'm part of the RIT team, and I literally live down there. When I got off probation, I spent all my time in training. I don't live far. I trained all the time. They saw me there. They're like, hey, we want you down here. We want you down here. So I finally made the move. And I was kind of hesitant to go down because I only had 2 years in this department, even though I had 5 in my previous department. I didn't think it would be a good look because I was like, I'm newer to the department, and I don't want them to think like, hey, who's this new guy? What does he have to offer? Or why is he down there? But after talking to everybody down there, they all agreed that they wanted me down there. So I did. I went down there, and it was very eye-opening, especially for me or somebody like Erik or yourself. I'm sure, like, I'm an open-minded person, but I'm very alpha male. And I thought, like, everybody that was down there should be like alpha male. Like, they should be the best of the best, best of the best of the skills. And what I found was it's just everybody fits in differently. Some people are really good at providing lectures. Some people are very good at organization. Some people are good at the PT aspect. Like, we all get together and we formulate a team and we make it work. And one of the things I realized, like, it's not about me, it's about them. Like, I'm not there to show off or show off what I can do. I'm just there to make them better. And
Yeah.
at first I thought like everybody should be like me. And then as I was teaching, I'm like, it's not my responsibility to make them into who I want them to be. It's, can I make them the best version of who they're meant to be? And
And
that's
I
where I've
think
come so far.
that makes a solid cadre of instructors, and I would say that about our department as well. It's like we have people that are into the fitness, and that's kind of their part, their pillar of the school. But then we have people that are ladder experts that know how to cut a hole, or
Yeah.
forcible entry experts, and they all kind of play a role in that recruit experience. And I think that makes a great department, or makes a good recruit school for the guys. I think that if you have the same instructors teaching you the same thing all over, and it just gets monotonous for those guys, and they lose interest. But it's
Yeah.
been it's been great to help with the new guys, because, and I think I can probably speak for them, when they see someone like you, they think, oh, it's possible. Like I can do this, or I can be that into fitness, or things like that. I think stereotypical firefighters, or things, they don't know that it's possible. What can we do? Are we boxed into the certain idea of who we have to be, or is there something different? So I think it's awesome that you provide that for the recruits.
And that's exactly like I remember going through Recruit Academy. I respected my instructors, but the ones that I respected the most were the ones that did everything that I did. Like they were the ones that ran with us, PT'd with us, did everything. And so that, and I won't call it discipline, but whenever like we have to do push-ups or anything like that, because one of us made a mistake, we try to always teach that if one of us makes a mistake, we all pay for it, just like it is in the firegrounds. If you forget your mask and it's time to go in, I can't go in because you can't go in. So, anytime they had to do anything like that, whether they had to do push-ups or up downs or mountain climbing, I always joined in. So I just wanted to show them that, like, yeah, it's just like you said, like I'm not asking you to do something I can't do myself.
Where do we get Eric down there at the training grounds to show those kids what's up?
It's ready, man. Me and Erik share a
I
similar
think I think
mentality.
he'd be great down there. I think he'd be good down
Yeah,
there.
I think he would too. I think Erik has the mindset, um, and he has a lot to offer. He'll show them.
Mm.
He'll bring a different aspect in as well, and that's the beautiful thing. Like when I went down there, I was like, "Oh, I'm really good at certain things. Like I'm good at rid, I'm good at search, but I'm not so great at cutting or being on roofs, or because I didn't do that much in my career. But you just realize like you don't have to go down there and know every single skill. You have to be open-minded. And I teach what I can, and I fill in and I defer to those that know those topics. And I never try to fake something. If I don't have the experience, I won't say, "Hey guys, this is how you do it. This is how I've done it for years." No, this is how I do it because this is how I've done it in the field, and then I'm showing you how I did it there, and I'm showing you even the mistakes that I've made, I've learned, and this is the way it should be done. So there's a lot of people there that are very good. We have very good people who are great in the driver aspects, in high rise, and building construction. So I'm not gonna always sit down and say, "Hey, I'm versed in every single topic. I'm great. I'm the best of the best," because I'm not. I'm always a student of the game, and I'm always going to learn. But it's good to surround yourself with people like that because you definitely grow as a fireman.
Yeah, one thing I've learned to the verbiage to say as an instructor or coach or whatnot. Look, this is a technique that I've used. It's helped me out. Use it if you care to use it, or if not, just hold on to it in your toolbox. But I'm not gonna sit there and say this is the only answer. This is the end all be all, because it's not. And that's helped me, coach and instruct in that way.
Big impact you can make on those guys is more even just a life impact, like being there for them, like knowing what they're going through right now. It's a stressful time, like just lending
Yeah.
like a I know you don't want to always be like buddy buddy with those guys, but being able to speak to what they're going through right now. Maybe
Yeah.
something in their life is popping up. They're having a baby, they're getting married, or just being someone they can connect with on a personal level that make the experience a little bit better, because they need to know that it's going to be okay, and they're going
Oh
to make
yeah.
it through this shitty situation right now.
And at the beginning, that one of the toughest challenges as instructors, where's that fine line between disciplinarian and the support system? Like, where can I show them that I can be both? Like, I'm
Mm.
not just gonna scream at you all the time. I actually want to listen to if you have any problems or anything like that. So it takes some time. Obviously at the beginning, although I want to hear everything they have to say, there's kind of like a proving ground on their side.
You
So it's
got
a
to earn it.
thing.
Earn
You
it.
earn it, and I'll give it to you. And I tell them all the time, guys, and I say, like, I will give you the shirt off my back, but I'm gonna reciprocate the same energy you give to me. I'm I'm not gonna pour and pour and pour into you if you're not giving me the same thing back. But if you give it to me, I'll give you everything I have to, to offer.
Absolutely, man. So we were catching up a little bit earlier talking about your Iron Man. I would love to get into that. It's super impressive. I watched the YouTube content that Erik captured.
Yeah.
Amazing. First of all, my first question is, what was your mindset? Like, how did you lead up to that? I mean, I know that type of training is so grueling mentally. It's not fun. It's not sexy. You're not gonna put that on Instagram or anything crazy, but you
Yeah.
got to be willing to put in that work. And what was your mindset training leading up to the Ironman?
I'll tell you right now, before I do get into that, I do want to thank Erik because he showed up for me, man. Like when I asked Erik to come up with me to film in Panama, like it wasn't even a hesitation. He was just like, I'm down. I'm in. He didn't ask
Hell
me
yeah.
for any money to reimburse him. He drove up in his own car, paid his own gas, and like it was awesome, man. And we have like a laughing joke between me and him, like because I had him hold my helmet because I wanted to wear my fire helmet when I crossed the finish line. He was the first person I saw. So like there's 1,000 emotions going on at one time. I just accomplished this great event, a big accomplishment. And I hug Erik and I embrace him. He's like, man, you hugged me before like your family or your mom.
Yeah,
I was like,
he
dude,
did.
I was just so happy and you were so supportive. So I'm glad that like I got to share that moment. Not only him, Mel did the same thing. She's behind the scenes. I always try to make sure she's in some form of a photo because she's always filming and she never gets the credit she deserves. So super happy to have both of them as friends in my life and
Yeah.
that they were able to do that for me without hesitation. So thank you, man. I really appreciate that. I know I've told you that before, but you'll always be in my good graces for that, man. I always owe you big time.
Thank you for your words, man. And I just want to say it it felt good to be the first one that you hugged and kissed and
Yeah,
and you told I love you and
yeah,
all that.
man.
Yeah.
That was
I'm
I
gonna
awesome.
let
love
that
you,
ride. I'm
Erik.
not gonna touch that one. Keep going, boys.
Yeah,
I love this moment.
it was awesome,
It
man.
was
It really
priceless,
was.
man.
Mhm.
I'm happy. And yeah, so Iron Man, like I don't know, man. I've always like how I even got into Ironman. I can't even really backtrack it all the way, but I've always been into sports. Like it's always been my outlet, right? Like I've always been good at sports. So anytime I've had anything stressful going on in my life, it's just been sports. It's just the way I clear my mind. It's the way I thought process. Everything works through that. So as you get older, obviously you're no longer in school. You're no longer playing sports with school. You got to find your own way. So for me, it was like basketball rec leagues, flag football teams, everything. And then slowly I got into obstacle course racing. So I was doing Spartan races and Tough Mudders and Battle Frogs and all this stuff. And like anything else, like once you reach something, you're like, hey, like, is this the pinnacle or is there something else that I can keep pushing myself to do? So that's how I think I originally got started. Like I kept looking like, I think I had done my first, the longest distance at that time I did in a Spartan race. I think I had done a Spartan Beast or something like that. And it was awesome. And I was like, man, like I can't believe I accomplished this. Like I was never really a runner. I just kind of put the work in and I got here and I'm like, so what's like the next chapter in my life? And then I remember I was on Netflix and I was looking for I love like documentaries. I can watch any kind of documentary all day.
Hell yeah.
So one day I was like looking through the sports documentary category and I saw one that said Iron Cowboy. And it was about this guy who did 50 Ironmans in 50 days in 50 different states. And I watched that thing, man, and like it's controversial. Some people are like, oh, he did an elliptical one day, it didn't count. I mean, regardless of what he did or didn't do, for you to do that volume of work in that short of time, not even going home and sleeping in your bed, literally sleeping in a van, traveling from state to state, it was incredible. It was like, it was moving to me. And I was like, if this guy can do 50, I can do one. And that's kind of how it started. I had the original background already. Usually, when people do an Ironman or something like that, they have one thing that they've already been working on. Usually, it's running. Like you run a marathon, and you're like, "What's next?" And then you find triathlon. But so I had the running background a little bit. I really wasn't a great swimmer at all. And then I had a Peloton that I had bought because also that was going on during COVID. So I already was riding bike because my wife's like she was pregnant
Mhm.
and COVID was new. We didn't know how it would affect us. There wasn't enough studies on newborns and stuff like that, or pregnant women. So she was scared, and she's like, I don't want you going outside and working out. And to me, that drove me crazy. So I was like, let's just buy the Peloton. So we bought the Peloton. It was awesome. So I was riding bike, I was running. So I'm like, all I got to do now is swim. So, which was the hardest thing I've ever.
Yeah, we were
Um,
talking about swimming before we came
it
on
is,
here.
and yeah, and Erik knows like it just seems so effortless when you see people do it. And I've had a boat my whole life. I grew up in South Florida. I've always been in the water, but I've never had to front crawl, swim, Olympic style, breathing through the side. It's always just been floating. So I'm like, oh, I can swim. I can swim all day. When I did my first 100 meters ever in a pool, it was eye opening. I was exhausted. My shoulders were exhausted. I was out of breath. And that was just 100 meters. And now I got to account and try to do 1.2 miles swimming. And I was
That's
like,
crazy.
that was the first time that I was like, I might not be able to do this. Like there was never a period of time. Like the bike, I was like, yeah, it's doable. The run, I was like, yeah, it's doable. But the swim, I was like, I can't even get from one length of the pool back without being out of breath.
Yeah.
So I just
And
went.
you did an Ironman in the ocean, which I think is, you get like 10 extra like
Man,
points for that. The ocean water is relentless.
it
Like that's
is
crazy. You can do it in a lake, that's cool. In a pool, that's cool. But an ocean swim is
crazy. It's
crazy.
crazy. A few different things, like real quick, touching on the ocean. Like one, when I'm training for an Ironman, I'm in a pool. I'm following a blue line all the time, so I'm not realizing that I'm correcting myself swimming because I'm following the blue line. So when I first started the ocean swim, I started swimming. I go to look up and see where I am, and I'm way off the mark because I'm not realizing that I'm stronger. I'm pulling more on one side than I am on the other. And then you got to account for the current. I got stung by jellyfish. I got kicked in the face multiple times. It was like nothing that I would have ever expected as far as the swim. It was rough.
I did a sprint try, and I'm not comparing it because Ironman is insane. But
I
I
still
did
an accomplishment.
a
Yeah.
sprint try in the ocean down in Mexico. It was sketchy. First of
Yeah.
all, it was sketchy. There wasn't a lot of first responders on site, and someone had an emergency there, and it wasn't
Yeah.
me. But the first, like you said, the first 50 meters of an open water swim is nuts.
Yeah.
You have to almost like, I had a combination of like 20, freestyle strokes, 5 breaststrokes just to see where I was going, to
Yeah.
sight a little bit, and then I even threw in some doggy paddle, brother. I was
Yeah. You have
struggling. I was like
to.
just getting it done.
Yeah.
But people are ruthless in the ocean and in triathlons in the water. But man,
It's a full
what?
contact sport.
Yeah,
That first, sound of the gun, and then those swimmers go into that water. Every man, woman for himself.
Yeah. It's really like that, man. I mean, another thing, like even on the bike portion, like when I was going on the bike, somebody crashed into me really early into the bike leg, like maybe in like mile 15. Like, so the way it works in Ironman is you can't ride too far behind each other because we don't have the brakes accessible to us in our hands. We're riding um, in a lean forward position in our aero bars
hmm
because that's how triathlon bikes are set up. So because of that, you can't ride too close to people like how you would on a regular road bike where you can actually draft off of somebody. You're not allowed to draft. So when you're ready to pass somebody in triathlon, you have 15 seconds to make your move. You get on the left side, you pop out just enough to pass them, and then you come back in. But before you do any kind of pass, you have to look to your left to make sure nobody's trying to pass you. So as I was making my move to pass somebody, as soon as I pulled up right next to him, he got out. He just popped out of the left out of nowhere. He didn't look or anything. He crashed right into me. And I thought it was over. I was like, oh, this is it. Like, I'm going to fall. We're both going to fall. I wasn't even worried about me. I'm like, my bike's going to get destroyed. I'm not going to be able to continue. Because that's it. Like, that's like the worst, other than probably getting bit by a shark. Your worst nightmare in triathlon is bike failure because you cannot have somebody bring you a brand new bike or a sub bike. Like, once your bike is done, if your components are done, that's it. Your race is done. So I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna fall. All my components are gonna break. And like, thank God I was able to hold on. And he ended up falling and front flipping forward off his bike. And it was bad. It was nasty. And I turned around, like I kept going, but I turned around to stop. And luckily there was just happened to be like a cart coming at the same time that I was part of the triathlon group. And they waited for me to keep going, that they were gonna take care of him. But it was like so many things happen in that race, man. It's like the funny thing when it comes to triathlon or any event, even endurance runs, I've done multiple endurance races. Like nothing ever goes to plan. There's always something that comes about that's like, for me, it was getting stung by jellyfish, the current in the swim, then getting crashed on the bike. And not to mention, the guy knocked off all my nutrition. in my bike, like all my water bottles and everything. He knocked them. I don't know how he did it. Like he must have like saw he was going down and got upset and grabbed each individual bottle in slow motion
He was
because it
like,
just didn't make any
fuck your shit.
sense.
Yeah.
And for me, like nutrition is it's devastating not to have the right nutrition. Like I remember I did a sweat test to see how much volume of fluid I was losing, and it was like 2.25 liters an hour. So to me, that equated to like I had to have like two Gatorade sized bottles an
That's a
hour.
2 liter of Coke.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I
If
have
you
to
think
have
about
that
the
much
bottle.
in like the sun or actively going for more than 1 or 2 hours at a time. I have to consume that to keep from dehydrating. So now
Facts.
here I am, like no water or anything like that, and I'm relying on aid stations. And the aid station water bottles that they had and the Gator bottles didn't fit in my bike cage. So if I hit a bump or anything, sometimes they'd fly out. So it was just like little disasters after little disasters. And I remember being on the bike leg 40 miles in. I was so fatigued. I was tired. I was like, man, I just don't think I could do this. And it was one of those moments that I like carry with me forever because it's literally made me fall in love with endurance events. There's that moment because, and Erik has a great quote. I forget how it is. I don't want to say it. And I don't want to butcher it. But there is a coward in all of us. You know, he is always there. No matter how hard I train, no matter how much of a badass I think I am, which I don't, but he's always there. Like they're always going to show up. It's what you do in those moments that define you, and those are the moments that I live for endurance events. Those are the mental growth moments that really like elevate you as a person. Like, yes, I'm only as good as I am today. I'm not who I was when I did that Ironman, but the pain and what I went through will carry with me forever. So when I do hard things, I always tell myself, like, hey man, you did an Ironman. Just suck it up. You can keep going. I know I can. And I had a moment where I was literally already making excuses in my head what I was going to tell my family, why I wasn't going to finish, what I was going to tell my people on social media. Like you really start falling apart in your head and really start telling yourself like, hey, we have to make it a reality that we're not going to finish. And just something just snapped in me. I think it was like somebody was next to me playing a song from the movie Sing 2. It was the Sky Full of Stars song, and it's my
Hell
daughter's.
yeah.
At the time, it was my daughter's favorite song, and it was just like that's all I needed to hear. Like something came over me, like stop making excuses. Like, is this the man you told yourself that you wanted to show your daughter? Like, you're doing this for her. You're doing this for legacy. You're not doing it for yourself. Like, am I gonna go down like this, or am I gonna go down giving it everything I got? Maybe I might not make it past 60, 70 miles, but I'm gonna give it everything I got. At that point, I did the worst thing you could possibly do, which is I stopped paying attention to my heart rate. I stopped paying attention to my speed, which you should always pay attention to those things. But at that point, I was like, I don't care about anything. Like, I'm just gonna give it what I got. And I did. And from that point on, like, it's crazy. Like, I started averaging from like going 13 miles an hour to going like 20 miles an hour on the bike. Like I got this resurgence of energy, that whole Navy SEAL method that they talk about, where when you're at your when you think you're at your 100%, you're really only like at 60 or 40%. It's true, man. Like I had this energy that came out of nowhere just because I had that feeling of like thinking about my daughter and all that stuff. And from that moment, I just started having fun. Like the race was fun. The back half of the bike was awesome. And I did the whole Michael Jordan method where like I pretended to have enemies. Like I passed people on the bike and I'm like,
Yeah.
I passed me earlier. He was laughing at me, which he really wasn't, but I'm like, I'm gonna pass him. And I was just making everybody, and it's so funny. Another thing
Taking souls, baby.
yeah, exactly. Like and like how it goes back to Erik with smoke drivers. When I asked Erik like for advice, he was like, like I'm like, oh, how did you get through the tough times? He's like, when it was just tough and I saw like the instructors and stuff like that, internally, I was just telling myself, like, you're not better than me. And it's not because, he's being, cocky or anything like that. It's just you got to tell yourself that, like, hey, this guy got through, and I know the work that I put in to get here. You're not better than me. You're not superhuman. You're not multi-talented. You're just the same. You're like me. You're somebody who put the work in, and now it's my time. So that's what I was doing. Like I was passing people and passing people and passing people, and I just started having fun, man. And the
Kristian, you
rest,
didn't know how much I needed to hear that fucking monologue you just put in, dude. We're gonna clip that shit, and I'm gonna replay that shit when I need it. I'm ready to run through a concrete wall. You had let's go, man. That was awesome.
yeah,
I love your mindset, man.
yeah,
If there's someone listening that struggles with conquering their inner bitch, like Joe Rogan said,
yeah.
what strategies would you give them to, you kind of talked about it, but go into a little bit more of like to combat that coward in us all? How do you do that?
I just look at the work that I put in. You have to find reminders of why you're there. And it sounds cliche when you hear it, like, oh, like, why am I doing? You hear Goggins and everybody say it, like, there's that moment where you ask yourself, why am I doing this? And you have to have those moments that you put in training that remind you, that are stepping stones. Like, I'm doing this because I can. I'm doing this because I'm capable. I'm doing this because I love it. I may not, enjoy the moment right now, but I love the process. And that's me, man. Like, I'm one of those people that I don't smile a lot when I finish something great. People are like, wow, you accomplished this, you accomplished that. I'm like, yeah, but like, it was the journey. It was like the road getting here. That's what I really crave, because that's the growth, and that's what you got to go back on. Times are going to be tough, and every dog has a day. Like, even when I'm down at Recruit Academy, I'm always seen as like the PT guy. And there's some days I don't have it. It's just, it is what it is. Like, either you didn't hydrate enough, you didn't get good sleep, and then those are the moments where you got to like push through, because you've been there. When you build that little bit of experience, and then you start growing on it, you always have that to fall back on. That I know I've been here before. It's just another day. Let's just keep pushing. That's the way I approach it.
Hell yeah,
You
brother.
mentioned Goggins a little
Yeah.
bit ago. Goggins says he was asked a similar question. What do you tell yourself, or how do you get through tough situations or adversity or whatnot? And he answered, I always ask myself the question, what if?
Yeah.
What if I get through this? What if I don't stop running? What if I get to the other side? What if I cross the finish line? What if? Like, and that's something that really resonates with me. I'm sure it resonates with you. Like you just said, it comes a moment where you're in so much pain, so much agony, and you gotta remind yourself why you're here. But you gotta push past that and keep on going. Because I think what you were trying to say is when you think you're you're only 50%
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
It's
not totally
you're
You're
not
just a
Well,
fraction of the that what it is.
that you think
So
you're in.
I
Yeah.
read a lot about different athletes, and one person that I'm really impressed with always is Stephen Curry, and
Yeah.
they talk about him is not physically gifted, but he has so much earned confidence because he's put in the work. He's did hundreds and thousands of shots, of dribbling techniques, and all these things. He's earned the right to be that confident, and I don't think you can. You have to put in that suffering and stack that suffering and stack that experience to have that earned confidence, but you can't fake that. You can't fake 100,000 jump shots. You can't fake the time he's put in or the time that you've put in to do the Ironman. You can't fake that. So know that you've done, like you said, know that you've done the work to put in to accomplish your goals, and that will be kind of the motivation you need.
Absolutely, man. That's
So I got some questions. Me and Erik, we did an episode where we talked about anaerobic and aerobic
okay.
kind of workout and zone 2, zone 5 stuff. Um, when you were training, or let's put it to the fire ground a little bit.
Okay.
What kind of training do you do now, and what do you think is most effective on the fire ground?
Uh, I think the hybrid athlete lifestyle is most appropriate for a fire ground. Because as much as I love running and lifting and triathlon, like I also like, funny thing, like I looked at, like anybody else, like I always have like I I want to know like what the best of the best are doing and how I can get there. So I was looking into like triathlon body shapes and stuff like that. And I was like, man, what would I need to wear? What would I need to look like aesthetically to be like the number uh, one of the number ones? And one of them was like, it said your BMI had to be like 21 or something. And when I looked it up, it was like I had to weigh like 165 pounds.
I'm about to say you're not a small guy.
No, I'm not. And
no,
I weigh right
no,
now.
Chris
I'm
towers
actually
over me, and it's borderline offensive. And sometimes I just like he goes to hug me to like reach in for like dap, and I like get to my fucking level, bro. Like why you up there? Why you so high?
yeah. That's and man, like, and I was like, I'll never get there. Like, and it's not because I don't think I can physically get there. I just don't want to get there. I want to be right now. I would like to ideally be a 205, probably the lowest I'd go down. But right now I'm weighing like 209, 210. I fluctuate. But for me, it's because I want to be able to do the job, right? Like, yeah, it's great if I can be faster on the bike, the run, and the swim. But then when I put on gear, can I still do the same thing? Can I still handle my own body weight? Um, and I see that a lot when we first start off. Um, with new recruits, right? We put them through a standardized PT test, and some of this real skinny guys crush it because they manage their body weight so well. They do great on pull-ups, they do great on push-ups and sit-ups, and they're going through it like, oh, I'm gonna crush this program. And then in the minute we put them in gear and they're not used to it, it's a whole nother animal. And that's how it is in the firegrounds for real. You know, like I have to be able to be good at both. I have to be able to, you know, do my job and lift a little bit of weights because weights is important. You're going to carry saws over your head. You're going to throw up ladders. You're going to vent. You're going to do a lot of things that are going to require not only good technique, but also some muscle to back you up to do the job efficiently. So you do have to have a little bit of muscle. You have to have endurance. You have to be able to be quick. You have to have a little bit of everything. So for me, it's like my fitness is kind of like the whole jack of all trades style. Like I'm the jack of all trades, but I'm the master of none.
I do love your Instagram handle the hybrid firefighter. That's
Yeah,
pretty dope. I'm surprised that was available. First of all,
I
that
know, me
sounds
too. I was like, ah, I got lucky and I just liked it at the time. Like, so when I first got into triathlon, like I was like, okay, who can I find that's my similar build that has done this? I've and I found them like before he blew up was Nick Bear. I found Nick
mhm.
Bear like 3 years ago when he was just
Mutant. That
making.
dude's a mutant.
Yeah, and this was like when he
Mm.
had a very small supplement company. It wasn't big. He was making small videos. I followed him through his first triathlon, and he made videos all the way through. And I was like, this guy is very similar to me. He's I think 6 feet, 6'1". I'm 6'2". He almost weighed the same thing as me. Like he was a bigger guy running. So I was like, I'm gonna follow this guy because I know like he has a similar body style. And that's where the whole hybrid thing came from for me was that was what he was preaching at the time. And I was like, it makes sense. Like I want to be able to do a little bit of everything. So yeah, on the firegrounds, I think to each his own, like do what you want to do outside of the fireground, find your fitness level, find your fitness passion outside of it, but always stay relevant to the job and always know that you have to be able to perform the job at the highest level if you take this job serious. If you don't take this job serious, it is what it is. But if you take this job serious and you know you want to hang, you want to sleep in your bed at night peacefully every night, knowing that you can do the job and you give it all you got, then you have to be able to do a little bit of everything to be successful in this job.
When people ask me what should I start doing, like in recruit schools or before they get hired, or what should I do, I said, like, should I start doing stairs or start running more or start lifting? I said yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, do
All
all
of
of it, do all of it, yes. Um,
it.
yeah, people think that the body type of a firefighter has to look a certain way, and it's kind of stereotypical, but it's a big burly guy, big
Yeah.
mustache. But now like you said, you have to be a jack of all trades. You got to be able to do it all. And if you don't have the aerobic capacity or the strength, you're missing. Like something's lacking. So I don't want to be caught lacking, on
No.
both fronts.
And you may not be as a fireman the most aesthetically great looking guy. Like some people just want to get jacked and they think that that's what it's going to take to do the job, and it's not. Like, yeah, do I want to look good? Sure, but to me, like, I don't really care what I look like aesthetically. Like,
Mm.
what I care about is when I look in the mirror, I know that my body is a product of my work ethic. When I look at in the mirror, my body's going to tell me whether I'm putting in the work or not. It's never going to lie to you. Even if you take steroids, you do all this stuff, eventually your body's going to tell you the truth. It's going to revert back to normal. When I look in the mirror, I know the work that I'm doing. Or if I look and I see something that's not the way it should look, I'm like, man, I'm slacking in this aspect. I'm not running enough. I'm not doing enough push-ups. I'm lacking here and there. So that's how like I judge my aesthetics. Like if my body won't lie to me, it'll tell me if I'm putting the work that I'm trying to reciprocate.
Eric was telling me a little bit about your RIT team experience and what you guys did at your RIT competition. Go into a little bit of that and how'd you get into RIT competitions and your experience with that.
Oh man, so they tell you when you get to Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, they're like, "Oh, you can do anything you want in this department, right?" And you're like, you feel like they're just selling you a dream, right? But it really is like if you put the work into something, you really can do whatever you want. You may not get there at the pace you want to get there at, but if you put the time in, you'll get there. So initially, when I was up in Orange County, my engineer, because over there it's a ranked position, he was really big into RIT, and we had RIT bags in all our suppression units. Here in Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, we only have them on battalion vehicles and squads and stuff like that. We don't have them in every vehicle, so people don't get hands on as much. So when we were going through the academy and we learned RIT, I was like super excited about it because I love to train on RIT. We did it all the time. And the first thing I did when I got out of recruit academy was I went to training like literally the day after Recruit Academy, I grabbed the rip bag and I started messing with the rip bag connections and stuff like that. Because here we now have the Scott X Pro 3 pack. In Orange County, we had the former model.
Mm.
So I didn't have the quick disconnect on my regulator. So I wanted
But
to
still
practice.
Scott? You still
Yeah,
run Scott's?
still Scott. But I wanted just that little connection. Like I wonder how, I wanted to do some stuff with the rip pack to utilize that connection that I didn't have in my last apartment. So I grabbed the rip pack. I was under the canopy. I was training by myself. And along comes Rick Stevens, Captain Juan Miguel, and Chief Morgado. And they're just walking by, and Rick Stevens sees me because he's like the guy for RIT, for our department. He does all the training for Central, and he's like very big on RIT. And he's like, oh, hey, what are you doing with the pack? Like, I'm like, oh man, here I'm a brand new firefighter. I just got off probation. Probably shouldn't even grab this pack to begin with. This guy's probably gonna tell me off. And like he literally just sat there with me for like an hour, just talking about RIT and asking me like the things that I did and how I did things over there. Like he was genuinely like interested in what I had to say. Like it was like so weird because to me it's like I'm on probation. Like I'm supposed to be treated like, I'm still probie and no one's really gonna ask me for my opinion because I haven't earned it yet. And like we just had an hour conversation and it was just like we clicked immediately. We thought the same way. We thought about the future plans for it the same way. And he asked me if I wanted to try out for the RIT team. And I was like, man, absolutely. Like I already knew about the competitions. I was planning to do it in my previous department before I got hired here. And yeah, so I went to a RIT practice and like 20, 30, 40 people showed up to a meeting that we had. And I was like, man, this is going to be a tough competition. Not because I don't think I can make it, but because there's a lot of people that have seniority. I don't know if I'm going to get selected. And just like anything else, everybody wants the t-shirt, everybody wants the praise, but nobody wants to put the work in.
Mm.
So like maybe 3 or 4 of those guys showed up. And then after a while, nobody showed up to practice. It was just me by myself and Rick. And that's it, man. I was like, I used to get laughed at all the time, like as a joke, but they were like, man, here comes the one-man RIT team. Because I was just I would have a bag, a dummy, and I was just training by myself. And Rick's like, man, like I need you to get some people for this team that are like that want to be here, that are dedicated. And at the time, Erik, Randy, Carlos, they were all doing what's called Torture Tuesday. They would come every Tuesday to the fire grounds and they would get in gear and they would go up and down the stairwell. And I was like, well, these guys are in shape. They're always here. They're dependable. They love the job. Like it's a no-brainer. I started there. So I saw Randy and Carlos and I asked them if they wanted to join the team and they joined the team. Carson, who's on the team too, he's like my right-hand man. Like he helps me with everything. I don't know how he ended up finding out about it, but he was like a godsend because he came and started practicing. And then like coincidentally, hey baby, my little daughter's here. So coincidentally, like one day I'm at station, I think I'm like on rescue 40 or something like that. And Erik happened to be there. And one of the guys, we had Captain Stevens brought my unit in to train for the RIT team that day. And Erik was on the rescue. And I was like, Erik, do you mind filling in? And he's like, absolutely, man. Hell yeah. So like he jumped in, then he became a part of the team. And then we just built this thing together, like, and it's flourished since then, man. We've competed like 5 times already. We podiumed last time out of 20 teams. We're going up, flying out of Reno. We have 3 teams. So what became like a small little vision for me just flourished because I put the time and effort into it. And now, it's something that we all love and we're all passionate about. It's not something I force on anybody. Like we all love this job and we all love doing it. So it's easy for everybody to want to show up and train.
Torture
Well,
Tuesday
RIT,
sounds dope.
RIT is super important.
Super important.
RIT
Eric's
is
got to
super
tell you
important.
that story.
So, I mean, RIT, sometimes it's taken for granted on the fire grounds, but RIT has to be the most important job because if a firefighter goes into an idealist environment, immediately dangerous to life and health, if they go down, that's a bad spot to be in. And now who's going to go in there to save him? The RIT team, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the individuals that could do RIT are far and few. I'm always praising, I'm always harping that it's a special operations job. It's special ops because not everyone could do RIT. It should be a specialty within our department,
That's the
And
dream.
so
That's what I'm
the
working
day
on.
the day one of our own goes down is gonna, God forbid, it's gonna be it's gonna be a memorable day. the day one of our own goes down in operations, it's man.
It's gonna change the game.
So that's why we train. We train for
Yeah.
that 1%, right? We train every single day. So when we're called upon, we're ready. And I can't emphasize that enough. I can't stress that enough. I can't train enough for that moment, for that for that opportunity if it ever does arise.
And
We have
people
to be
tell
ready.
me all the time, like, oh, the ones that hate on it, they're like, oh, you're training for something you may never do ever. Yeah, absolutely. And I hope to never have to do it because that means that one of my brother's lives is in serious danger. But you better believe that if that day comes, I'll be ready.
You
Like,
could also say that to the like tech rescue guys or the big rope guys over there that like to go off the side of the building. That's a very rare call at all.
yeah,
I got a couple buddies that are big tech rescue
and it
guys.
happens, man. I was so when
Well, in
I
Miami, maybe.
quick side story, when I got towards the tail end of my career in Orange County, I became a truckie. Where over there, to be on a truck, you can't be a probationary fighter. It's a technical rescue job. You have to have the specialties. And my very first call ever on a truck was a high angle rope rescue, ever.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, and that day I remember like checking out the truck. And it was my first time on a truck. I spent the whole day checking everything out, and sure enough, like, and those calls are few far in between. And it was my first call. So, and like when people tell you like, oh, you train for that 1% of RIT and it's never gonna happen, you're wasting your time training on it. I'm like, yeah, but let's just say I don't get that call. The skills that I'm training for to be proficient in RIT are what we gotta be good at anyways.
Hmm.
It's literally a combination of everything that we need to do as a firefighter, other than maybe hose management and pumping or something like that. Everything else, like you have to be good at. You have to be good at search. You have to be good with building construction. You have to be good with confined space, structure collapse. You have to be good with so many skills that are relevant to everyday firefighting to be good at RIT. And it's just the truth.
Yeah. I,
Yeah.
I think that's, I think, well, here's my first question. Is y'all's training grounds like just open all the time for people to go down there and do, whatever? Or is it just kind of like the one percenters usually just go out there and train? Like, because I'm trying to start that. I'm trying to start something like that.
You want to take it, Erik?
So the training grounds are available to us to train.
Mm.
It's not really a playground, but it is where we find our skills and we get to be familiar with our limitations.
Mhm.
So yeah, we do have access to the training grounds. You always leave it better than you found it, right? And you don't. Damn, I had the verbiage today because I was envisioning myself talking to someone saying, "Put everything where you found it and leave it better than you found it." Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't take anything. Don't vandalize anything. Don't take anything. Just put it away where you found it and leave it better than you found it. So pick
Well, you
apart
have
yourself.
have
Yeah.
pride about what you got.
Yeah.
And it's
So
beautiful, man. You can almost go down there and do anything you want to do.
Mhm.
Like, and if you need help, you'll find somebody to help you. The problem is, and I'm sure you've experienced in your fire department, and it's an epidemic in all fire departments, people don't want to train. People don't want to put in the work. People, it's t-shirt people. They want the t-shirt. They want to be able to wear it on the weekends. They want to, those that are super grossly out of shape want to say, oh yeah, well, back in my days when I was your age, I hate hearing that. I'm like, you were never
Mm.
like me. All right. Not even on your best day. Like, stop trying to live in the shadow of somebody you were to justify who you are today. Like, if you were that firefighter, you're still that firefighter. Like, you have the opportunity. How beautiful is it? I have the opportunity to use millions of dollars of equipment whenever I want. I can show up and I can do anything. I can throw ladders. I can drive around in trucks. I can pull hose. I can charge lines. Like, we have that ability, and you would think people would be like running to go ahead and do that, and there'd be a line of people wanting to do that where they'd have to say, hey, you can't come today because there's too many people in the training grounds. But it couldn't be further from the truth. People just don't want to put that work in. They get real comfortable at the station. They get real comfortable watching movies, not running calls. If you get in a slow house, eating all day, putting on that freshman 20, which is that 20 pounds you put on your freshman year. It's like,
yeah, I
they get
refuse to be that
comfortable.
statistic. That
Exactly.
statistic coming out of the recruit training, I heard it and I was like, nah, that. I'm not doing that.
Mm.
I'm not going to be part of the statistic. Here's a beautiful story. We were supposed to be at RIT team training at 0 8 in the morning one morning. I get to the training center at 5:30 to get a workout in. Guess who's at the training center working out in the gym? Chris.
Hell yeah.
So talk about like like-minded individuals, talk about that iron sharpens iron type of mentality. we got to be at a certain spot at a certain time. I'm gonna get there earlier, get a workout in, get a sweat in, and then warm up prime the body for what is about to encounter, and then start training. And this dude was already there, so I
But
mean that just goes to show you the caliber of men that
Thank you.
so
that are out
what if
there.
there's a guy out there that he's the only one man wolf pack? Like, what do you give the advice to him? Like, where he wants to go get after it and he doesn't have anyone to run alongside him right now. What would
We
you tell
will.
him?
You mean like in our department, or you just talk about in general?
In general, for everyone listening out there, that's a one man wolf pack right now.
Like-minded people will find you.
Mm.
They will gravitate to you. I gravitate to those who share the same passion for me, or the same passions I do. And there's group chats, there's run clubs, there's a lot of things. Social media is a beautiful thing. Like I've had so many people, even though I feel bad because I've kind of like abandoned my social media because I've just been so busy with recruit training and and I even know Erik, me and Erik have had sidebar conversations about it. It's exhausting sometimes. Sometimes you just want to work out and you don't want to have to film it, but you have an obligation because you are that light for some people. Like even me being off my social media, I've noticed like I've inspired so many people in my own department to run marathons, to try half marathons. There's a couple of people now that ask me for advice to potentially do Panama City Ironman this year. Like you have an impact, and it may not be 100,000 followers, a million, but you're affecting that small percentage that makes a difference. That now affects that small percentage that keeps affecting people. So what you do matters, man. And if you are that kind of person that really wants to push and find it, you will find like-minded individuals. And if you don't, you may be like me. Like as much as I love surrounding myself with like-minded people, I love training by myself. And I don't train with music. And people are like, "Oh, you're crazy. You're just listening to Goggins because Goggins doesn't like listening to music." And I'm like, no, that's not it, man. It's just there's such a beautiful thing where I have an uninterrupted 2 to 3 hours of just running, where I'm not distracted by social media or radio or
Yeah, you're
TV.
fucking crazy for that, buddy. 2 to 3 hours of running sounds like a
I
damn
did,
death
I did,
sentence.
with Julian Serrano, I did 30 miles on a treadmill, just staring at a wall.
That's
Like,
prison, brother.
I don't recommend it to anybody, but like, I can just, that's where I do my best thinking. That's where I'm
Mm.
the most creative. When I have time to just focus on my thoughts because I'm not distracted by anything. And it's such a beautiful thing. And I encourage everybody to do it, man. Because like if you really think about it, like right, like how many times did you say in a day you don't look down at your phone? You don't go an hour without looking down at your phone. And I'm not talking about because you're busy doing work or something, but if you got nothing going on, that you're not on your phone. So we don't allow ourselves to be bored anymore. And it takes out the creativity that we have because now we're no longer trying to be creative and think of ways to make ourselves unboard or think, we're just constantly looking for stimulation. So it's a double-edged sword. Social media is a beautiful thing, but at the same time, like you have to disconnect. And that's why I love running. It's not because I'm a great runner by any means. I just love that disconnect.
Have you read the book called The Comfort Crisis?
No.
You should. You should because it's basically what you were just saying.
Oh,
It
really?
talks about yeah, it talks about we're never bored anymore. We don't ever we're always stimulated, we're always doing something with technology or things like that. And and the level of creativity that people have now is so low because they're always being stimulated. They don't have to think. They don't have
Yeah.
to do anything. You can get food delivered to you. You can do everything from that device. And I think that for me, exercise is that like planned off time,
Yeah.
planned technology break, planned getting off of it. And and I think it's hard for people to make that connection or see that, to be honest, like that the phone is running them or there's no break from technology at all. So I'm glad that you brought that up, man.
Yeah. And I'm guilty of it too, man. I spend a lot of time on the phone and I'm like, damn, I'm spending way too much time on the phone. But like that working out and stuff like that, that forces me to stay off of that stuff. And it's just a beautiful thing. I recommend everybody to do it. And the recruits always laugh because every time I do any kind of training, I do a lot of the PT. I never have music on. They're like, I tell them
Savages.
like I don't need that external motivation. Like, and I tell them all the time, like I've never been in a house fire where my favorite song is playing in the background. Until that day happens where my favorite song is playing in the background, I don't need music in my workouts. Like I use internal motivations. Like for me, when I got to do a tower climb 10 times in a row and I know I'm going to get exhausted, I think, hey, man, my daughter's in that top floor and she needs me and she doesn't know where her dad is. and she's looking for me to come help her. What am I gonna do? That's my
Yeah.
motivation. Okay, baby.
Yeah, I can
Well,
relate.
let's hear about your family. Let's tell us about your family that you have got going on. We hear it, man. How old is she?
She's 3 years old, man. She just turned 3 July 8th. My birthday's the 4th, hers is the 8th. So we're just, man.
Wait, you were born on 4th of July?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was born on the
he
4th.
didn't
Fuck
want to
yeah,
share the
dude.
birthday with
America, dude.
America. He wanted his birthday to be on the 4th of July. So he says
Yeah.
America has his birthday.
True. Yeah, you share the birthday with the freaking nation, brother. That's pretty cool. How has being a father changed you as a man?
It's it's done a lot of good, and then surprisingly, like being a father adds so much anxiety to you, man. Like things that I wasn't scared of before, I didn't even contemplate. Like now, fear becomes real because now there's a reaction. Like I fear death. I fear that because I feel like I can't be there for her. So there's so many mixed emotions, things that pop up that I didn't think. But I've always wanted to be a father. Like I've always known at a young age as a man that I want to be a father. I just never thought I was ready. And I feel like some people just never feel like they're ready and they just need to take the leap. So when I found out my daughter was gonna be born, it's like a switch turns on inside of you that like it's not about you anymore. And that's one of the reasons why I've been pushing so hard lately as far as like Ironman, trying to do smoke divers, and I have another, ultra running, and I have a 24-hour obstacle course race coming up. Like I do all these things because like my time of what I want to do is getting more and more limited because soon it's going to be her time, and I want to show up for her as a father. So and part of the reason why I do what I do now is because in order for me to be the best version for her, I have to be the best version of myself. So if I can be the best version of myself for me, I can be the best version of myself for her. And man, I love it. I love being a father. And the real workout doesn't start till I get home. No matter what I do, I'll be exhausted. The minute she sees me walk through that door, it's like, let's play this, let's play that. I gotta pretend to be a lion for an hour.
There it is, the
Like,
lion one. I thought it was an alligator. I thought
yeah,
you had to
like
crawl.
she's like, "Oh,
That's
let's
awesome,
play
man.
lion, Dad." I'm like, "What do you want me to do?" She's like, "Just be a lion." And I'm like, "Oh, I've been
All
I've been
right.
crawling for an hour and weight training. I've been in gear all day. I've been now I gotta go on the floor. It's just like
That's
that's where
awesome.
the that's where the
Rar,
real training is.
Yeah, right.
rar.
Chris the Lion.
Chris the
Yeah,
lion,
it's
bro.
crazy, man.
Amazing.
That's
I
awesome.
was so as you were talking, I was saying, or I was thinking to myself, man, you have to be credible. And when you tell her something with conviction, you could do anything and it's possible because your pops, your dad did anything and it's possible. Imagine, and I saw something on Instagram somewhere saying, imagine telling your son you quit because it was hard.
Yeah.
And bro, when I read those words, I was like, man, imagine telling your little girl that you quit because it got too hard. I was like, man, how can I stop now?
Yeah,
You know?
that's tough. That's tough. Man, that's so how do you manage like when what do you guys run 24/48 with the rotating? Yeah, you guys got the same schedule as
But
Eric.
yeah,
But
24/48.
what strategies do you have in place to show up when you come home? Like how do you show up to be a good father, to be, good with your partner, to, not bring that shit home with you?
Man, one thing I do is I try to disconnect from work. Period. Like, as much as I can. Like some people like, and I laugh about it, and I get it, man. If you're passionate about the job, I don't want to knock anybody, but like when I go home, I turn off my G2 app that tells me who's running calls.
Fuck yeah.
I'm not interested unless somebody's life is in danger. I'm not interested in anything other than what I'm about, like my family and my activities and stuff that pertains to my inner circle. And I have a really good base at home. Like I love coming home. I love spending my time at home. My wife loves spending her time with me. Like she gets upset if I plan something, and it's not because she doesn't like what I'm doing. She wants to spend time with me. So we want to be with each other. Like I look forward to that's my home base. Like everything that's going on, I can deal with out there. But when I come home, it's my time to recharge and get with the people that I love, the people that truly know me and understand me, and just like disconnect from the fire service. Yes, I do, RIT training and stuff like that, but for the most part, like there has to be a disconnect. Um, some people have a really hard time of disconnecting. And I don't. Like I just feel like I can shut it off. And then when I get back to work, it's business as usual. And it's the same way I am on the fire grounds. Like when there's a fire, when I'm on a fire scene, like we can be best friends, but at that moment, like it's time to go to work. Like I'm not interested in talking to you about your family at that point, this, that. Like I'm not there to talk, I'm there to work. Now, when the fire's out, when overhaul is going on and everything's done, then let's talk. Let's talk about family, let's talk about friends, let's play around, let's joke. And that's how I treat it in real life too. When I'm at work, I'm gonna give you 100% of who I am. When I'm home, I'm home. I'm dad. Like I'm no longer the firefighter. I'm a husband. I'm a father.
Mm.
So you got, I think for people struggling with that, you really got to find that disconnect. And I'm not saying like, hey, don't go hang out with your work friends on your time off, but you have to have a balance. You have to have balance. If not, you're gonna lean towards one thing more than the other, and one part of your life's gonna suffer more than the other. It's either gonna be your work or it's gonna be your family.
Yeah, I've found myself being more like that, the complete disconnect. As soon as I pull out of the parking lot of the station's a station. The guys are going to be there in 2 days.
Yeah.
The fires and the calls are going to come back in 2 days, and completely like taking the hat off and putting the hat on. And some people think that's bad, but for a longevity of my career and my life, like my life isn't my job, and my job isn't my life. You have to have those two things separated for me, and it was easy for me to do that because I've got great things on both sides. Like I've got a great team that I work with at the firehouse, and I've got great things going on outside. And I can understand if people don't have a lot of great things outside of the fire service and they cling to it.
Yeah.
But the balance of having both parts of your life be great is a full-time challenge. But I think that everyone needs to have that balance, or you're gonna go crazy.
You are.
This job will drive you fucking crazy.
It will. Absolutely will. And it can if you let it. This job, if you let it, it will destroy your life.
Mm.
You have to be able to disconnect. You have to be able to know. And part of what helps me out, and I'm sure maybe for you guys, it's the same. Like we're gonna have bad calls that we can't control. What I can live with is knowing that I did the best I could, and I did the best I could because my training was up to par. My skills on the fireground were up to par. My medic skills were up to par. I knew everything and I did everything I could do, everything I could possibly do. I'm only there to make the situation better. I can't do anything else, and I live with that. Now, if you're not up to par, you don't train, you don't know your drugs, you don't know your procedures, you don't know what you're doing, then when big mistakes happen, those are the things that haunt you because you know that you weren't the best version of yourself. That person died or somebody got hurt because you weren't the best version of yourself because you didn't live up to what the oath that you took as a person to preserve people, property, and life.
Eric, when you look at Chris, is it like looking in a time capsule of you 20 years ago? Like I feel like y'all like a replication of each other, just in a different body. I love hearing that. And to be honest, I feel like all the people that you surround yourself are like-minded like you guys. So it's encouraging that there's more of us out there. There is people that think like that. There's people that train like this. There's people that operate with a certain mindset. And I think that's the goal of what this podcast is to show people that there are people out there like us. Like if you're a hard charger and you love to train and you want to be great at your job and all these kind of certain factors, that there's more of us out there than they think.
Yeah, I mean, Chris is cool, but I mean, there's cooler
But
people out there.
All right.
that's Eric's goal. He's going to continue to find them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you asked Chris earlier about, what do you do if you're that one lone wolf? Just keep working, man.
Mm.
Work, work, work. Keep working. No results. Keep working. Keep on working. Keep on working. I was approached. I was asked, "Hey, man, what will you tell your younger self?" And I hesitated for a little bit, and I was like, "Just keep on doing what you're doing. Just keep on putting in the work. You will find your way. Work, outwork everybody, and you will find your way. And keep on showing up to opportunities. And when you show up to those opportunities, you will find like-minded individuals in those opportunities because the 1% will find each other. So you just keep on working, man. I mean, there's no substitute for hard work. You just gotta put in the work. Gotta put your boots on the ground, time, in gear, and the results speak for themselves. You don't have to announce XYZ. People know who you are when you step into the room. So.
Yeah.
Chris, I also saw that you have a pair of the Carnabunca gear.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah,
So
I do, man.
I saw that picture. I was like, oh, he knows. He
Yeah.
knows how hot that stuff is.
It's hot, man. I've been wearing it for the past couple of days, and I think it's awesome. Actually, Erik was the one that introduced me to them, and he's like, "Hey, man, would you mind, taking lead on this because I know that you're down there training and like you can make stuff happen with it." So I did. He introduced me to them, and I talked to Chief, and I said, "Hey, listen, man, like these are PFAS-free gear, um, all the chemicals that in the flame retardants, all this stuff. Like we're in this gear all day long. We're training, especially me at recruit training. I'm in gear every single day. Like I know the the oath that I took. I know that I said I would be the best that I can, and I know that being good and proficient in this job requires me to be in gear all the time, and I live with it. But if there's a way to make myself safer while doing it, why not? And we're very fortunate where we are that at the training grounds we have people that really got our back and want us, want to give us all the tools that we need to be successful. So I reached out to one of the chiefs and he's like, "Hey man, like if they can bring in some gear for you guys to test out, maybe we can get it for recruit training since you guys are in gear all the time, and then give it to the cadets as well since they're very young. We don't want to expose them to anything at an early age. We can get them a set of gear, and then my goal is like for us as a department to maybe have a good, we don't have to have everybody outfitted with this gear because the reality is there's a lot of people in this department that are not going to train. But if we can get 200 sets of gear, and if you're one of those people that are about it, you go down to supply or something, you say, "Hey, I want to rent out a set of gear to train in," then we loan it out, and that way we train safely. So yeah, man, Erik was the one that introduced me to them, and it's
That's
awesome.
tight.
And
I
I'm
love
trying
that to hear that kind of change is possible within your department. Like that's very, very encouraging.
yeah,
Ryan, we had on the podcast, and
he's awesome.
yeah, he's a great dude. But he reached out to me and said, "Hey, this other department is looking to do something similar for the recruits. Will you talk to the training chief or someone in their department?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." So I got on the phone with the guy and just told him about my experience with the gear and how it hold up and how's it made, and they were buying all of their recruits a pair of these gear, like
Nice.
getting all the young guys in. And what I thought is like, what a better investment can you show to the people that are coming to work for you that, hey, we know that this stuff is bad for you. We want to take care of you from day one. Those people are going to stay with that department forever. Like just to know that they felt like they gave a crap about them. I feel like that was so encouraging. I would run through a brick wall if my department showed me that kind of support.
Yeah, Ryan, man, he actually mentioned you, and it was something that stuck with me. He said that when you had your wife talk to you about the gear that she got for you, that she said like control the controllables,
Mm.
and it's so true, man. Like if you can control the controllables, it's gonna help you. If I stay in shape, if I work out, if I take care of my body, if I eat well, yeah, if it's my destiny or if it's my time because I die of cancer or this and that, so be it. But if I can avoid those things by being as healthy as I can, by going to saunas, by wearing the right gear to train, by taking care of myself, like those are the controllables. Those are the things that are up to me to make sure that I can keep my health and I can keep my longevity for as long as I can.
Because you got a family.
Because I got family, man. Yeah, that's
You got to
that's
be there for
it.
them.
And you got me.
And I got Erik.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Who are you
gotta
gonna
hug some.
hug
I
after the
gotta hug
next
somebody at
Ironman
the
is the
finish
real
line.
question. Eric's got to be there for the next Ironman because you're gonna have to hug him first. It's a good luck and charm
I
now.
know, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Chris, we usually like to wrap up these episodes with, wisdom or a mantra, or when things get difficult, what do you say to yourself? I know we talked a lot about it in the beginning, but there's a lot of people going through hard times right now. There's people battling demons, people trying to get into fitness. If you could kind of speak some wisdom into their life, what would that look like or sound like?
One of the things that I said was like find the like-minded people like we talked about. I don't have all the answers and I'll never have the answers. And you can ask me something today and I can look back at it and maybe a month or two or three from now, I may have a different answer for you. And it's not because I didn't know about, that specific topic when you asked me about it. It's because we're continually growing as humans, man. And my perception of things will change. The way I am will change. So just stay consistent, always be a student of the game, right? And one thing I learned recently, like I told you guys, it's never about you. It's about other people. don't be selfish and try to do things because you think it's going to leave a legacy for you. Your legacy will never ever be about you. It'll be about the people that you affect, right? Like that one or two or three people that really took what you said to heart and then now instilled that in their lives and they pass it on to the next person. That's legacy. Legacy is very rarely, or if not, it's never really about you. So anybody who's looking to do stuff, just involving people, going in the right direction, making everybody better, like that's the initiative, like this red team thing, it's not about me, it's about my guys. It's about showing our department that we care, we want to train, we want to compete, and then getting more and more people involved to do the same thing. It's a ripple effect. It's never really about you. It's about those people that are watching what you do. So if I can leave you guys with anything, it's that, man. Like, it's not about you, man. It's about helping other people get to be the best versions of themselves,
Absolutely, man.
Yeah,
I
team
will
over
say-
self.
Yeah.
Team over self. Yeah.
Team over self, man. Yeah.
Well,
Chris, man,
you
you
just
absolutely- Go
witnessed
ahead.
a preview of what it's like to be in the life of Erik Vidal with
Yeah.
with Kristian Menendez.
Yeah.
You know, this is what I have to deal with on a daily
Usually
basis.
at like 5:30 in the morning, but this is 6:30 p.m.
Just a little snippet.
I feel like you guys are very unique and need to put more stuff out there for like be the voice. I think the best advice Julian's ever given me is like, and Erik as well, is like speak your story. Like share your struggle. Like put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable and tell people what you're going through and because people need it.
Somebody
people
out there
to-
needs to hear it.
Yeah,
Somebody
people
needs to hear it.
need that. So thanks, Chris, for coming on, man. This has been one of my favorite episodes so far. So I appreciate you being
Absolutely,
here.
guys. Thank you, guys. Keep doing what you're doing. You're impacting a lot of lives, whether you know it or not. So keep doing it, man. I appreciate
Absolutely,
it.
man.
Thank you,
Thank you,
guys,
brother.
for having me on.
Love you too.
All right, brother. Love you too. See you at the next time, man.
Later, boys.
All right, guys. Bye.
So, to all the viewers and listeners out there, the Uncivil Mentality Podcast, thank you for joining us. On behalf of myself, Erik Vidal,
And I'm Reilly. Kilbride. Get after it. Get in your gear. Start f***ing training. It can never be enough.